Hi everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are getting connected with Heather Morgan, who is our an artist that is currently on view here at Seesaw Art, and we're going to be diving into her work today. So, just getting connected. Hi Devin, good to see you. Just finding Heather. Thanks so much for joining us today. Ah, excellent.
Hello.
In a little bit of a different way.
Here we go.
Excellent, excellent. Hi Heather, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You're sideways
Ah,
for me.
let me fix
There we
that.
go. Excellent. Hi Tracy, thanks for joining. We're getting Heather in the right orientation here. Hi Mark, thank you for joining. Just getting a little set up here. And
Sorry, I had it all done and it was just going in the wrong direction. There we go.
oh my goodness. Go. I know I found my special phone holder seriously 2 minutes ago to do this. That was so funny.
There's just there's like 8 million clamps. So I'm like, which is the one that does this part?
Oh, that's funny.
There we go.
Yay! Just about. Oh man, perfect. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us this afternoon. I'm so excited to be hosting this artist talk with Heather Morgan, who is featured in our current exhibition entitled Here and There. Oh, and Mishka, of course. No, Sasha. This is the newest. This is Sasha, who was the star of the show during the reception, of course, because is the sweetest doggy ever. So Heather, like I was saying, is in our current exhibition here at Seesaw Art here in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we are so lucky to be able to be in conversation with her today and discuss the work. The current exhibition is on until March 30th. So everybody come by, see me next week or next weekend to check out the show. And yeah, so Heather, welcome, welcome. Heather was born in 1973 in Jersey City, New Jersey, and is a painter and chanteuse, and it has a recognizable style that is of sumptuous self-portraits and figurative paintings that vibrate between intimate vulnerability and potent self-possession. Beauty quivers with pain and flaw in luminous, distorted subjects that populate Morgan's paintings. Flickering surfaces allude to motion and passage of time, as well as anxiety and the fragmentary nature of persona. Painting is a way to explore the nature of reality, to question what is important. The paintings focus on conveying an experience of visceral emotion of the sitter and the hand that leaves behind each mark. So I love that bio so much. I had to read it.
It's very wordy because I'm a fan of Dickens and Stefan Mallarmé.
Oh, that's perfect. So everybody behind me, you will see a sort of a trio of Heather's works. I'll also pop a link in the chat to Heather's artist page on seesaw.gallery so you can dive into from afar. But Heather, tell us a little bit about the works that are on view and what patrons can expect when they visit Seesaw.
The works that are at Seesaw are very they're very un-American. If you go to the Armory show every year, you'll kind of see wave after wave of monumental, very keyed up, very saturated, large gestural work. And I've just moved pretty far away from that in the last few years, probably say 6 or 7 years. And now I'm just really gotten into trying to make the small and intimate feel large and feel all encompassing. And my themes couldn't be bigger and broader. Life and death, confronting mortality, thinking about, all the things you think about when you hit middle age, how time is kind of like this, not only is time fleeting, but it's kind of like this soup that you can stick a ladle into rather than think of as a traveling line. Like, you know, like if you can just, all your memories kind of swirl around and you can just take a scoop and think about things from all yourself at all different times, experiencing things and how that all makes up your sum total of being, and just things like that. And then on this small, tender scale, which I can really like labor over these, and
Really?
but I just love it. And so I really feel like, you know, and a lot of the other artists I was pleased to see are also working on this
Mhm.
intimate but very detailed scale. And so I feel like this is a room full of work that just wrings all that juice out of this delicate size.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of and thinking of pairing these artists together, specifically your work and Eleanor Cordola Branch's, just because like I felt that same attention to detail. And one of my favorite parts overall about your work is like the thickness of the paint. So when I come and open the gallery, the whole gallery smells like oil paintings, and I'm like the happiest gallerist that there ever was, because there's just this texture. And to me, when an artist is able to leave such texture, it's also very confident, it's also very vulnerable, and the same point to say, like, yes, like this is how it's going to be. What sort of implements are you using? Are you using brush? Are you using palette knife? Like, how are you able to get this great texture? And what's your feeling behind the texture as well?
When I started going with the impasto, it was knife only. And I did that for about a solid year or so. And
Wow.
then I brought back in the brush, and now there's a little bit more brush going on. So it's just like this technique is kind of distilling
Mm.
itself into a variety of things. Like when I started out, it was just like knife only knife, and love the knife. But then I got the hang of using this texture. So being able to weave in some line drawing with that texture. So I have like the best of both worlds. And I arrive at that. Um, I kind of make these paintings um, on canvas before I start. And so those are my grounds, things like
Mm.
that. And I
Wow.
can, sometimes it's just a matter of applying the leavings from my palette at the end of a session. You know, it's like they're so beautiful. And sometimes I'll just scrape them on and see how they randomly coalesce into a wonderful painting all on their
Mm.
own. And other times I kind of manipulate them. Um, but really, you know, I just have to go back to John Walker when he was my professor, and he would look at a palette, like just a
Mm.
beautifully caked on, which if you could see the one I'm looking at, a beautifully caked on palette, like like this one. And
Oh my
he's like,
goodness. Yeah.
your palette is, look at how beautifully the paint just merges together all on its own, and look at how hard you're working to ruin
Mm.
that. and
Yeah, with all of your thought process and your ideas
exactly.
behind the painting, and
He,
because I think of the palette and like that's the unconscious, like
yes.
that's the vessel where the like you're trying to get it on the canvas in the way that you want to, but it's almost like when you see an abstract drawing by a kid and you're just like, oh my God.
Right. Right. But here I am trying to work with what this medium just so naturally has to it. Is
Yeah, love
just
that.
such a lushness all on its own, that
And
if
yeah,
you just
exactly.
let it be what it is, and
Oh,
don't fight it, but rather work with it. And then the other thing that I love about working on these like really built up surfaces before I even start
mm,
is that you know, it introduces a note of random, which forces spontaneity. You
yes.
know, because you absolutely have to improvise, because you just it's like you wrinkled the drawing
Yes.
paper before you started drawing on
Yeah,
it.
and
So
so you already have all of these sort of decisions that have been made, and then you're reacting to whatever happens to be there. I really love that.
exactly. And
Yeah,
there's a
that's
little
great.
loss of control in some of
Yes.
those, and then you impose control by choosing what stays, what goes, how much. Sometimes parts of the underpainting show through
Yes.
the colors, I use it,
Yeah.
and then scratch back through, and other times I'm just like completely covering it up, and but always having to work with the texture, and the texture just creates such a flickering surface on the final
It
image
definitely does.
that really makes me think of a living, breathing space
Hmm.
and the passage of time. Like it feels like it transforms it away from a static moment into like a period that could be hours. Things could have moved
Yeah.
inside the frame and just caused that sort of flicker of space and light. It's like, which has its own weight.
I love that so much. Yeah, they definitely feel like, especially in the figurative work, obviously, like the figures to me, they feel very confident. They feel very happy.
Mhm.
They feel like loved within the frame for me. Like there's some really great pieces. I'm thinking of Chanel on the Shelf,
Mhm.
which is this piece of a figure of a woman in a bath in like this
Mhm.
beautiful sort of pink bathroom. There's also a hot tub, which is another woman figure in the
Mhm.
bath, and they just seem like so content. And it does, because of that texture. I love spending more time with the work and in seeing, each side of each texture, and it just feels like there's more to look at, specifically within like the smaller pieces, like an 8 by 10 is a small piece, but you're able to really use every single centimeter of it to make that
Yeah,
experience.
and
Yeah.
that's all I'm really interested in is the emotional response. That's all I've ever been interested in, big, large, uh, and I want it to be like a gut punch, and not necessarily that it's negative, but really
Right.
like something
A,
that
a great
really
feel of
hits you.
resonance and a
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
great.
I,
One
I
that
love nothing more than when somebody comes up to me at an opening and they're like, I
uh,
get you. I feel like I feel like somebody finally sees how I think. And I'm like, that's cool, you know?
right. Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite pieces is Hilltop, which is a newer piece, and I'm like looking around the room, which is where my eyes are going. And that has like a different sort of texture to it. Like it's very sharp in a way, and it's a really beautiful moment. And it's a newer piece too, and I always love to see like the range. Like, okay, this is the oldest piece, this is the newest piece. Like I can kind of get an idea where the artist heads at based on that timeline.
Mhm.
But that one, and I love the idea that you're using both palette knife and brush. So it's like okay, let's just say you mastered brush and then you came in and you did palette knife, right? So now the combination and the knowledge to know which to use when, I think is really cool and really informs the work in that way.
Yes.
Let's see here. So out of the pieces that we have on view, what's one of your favorite piece that we have here at Seesaw?
Um,
I know it's hard.
Probably just right behind you, that Veterans Park painting. I really love that
And that's
one. I
a newer piece too, right?
Yes. Uh, yeah, I
Excellent.
definitely made that just a few months ago. And what I just love about that, I mean, I just thought, oh, I really love it because it's a, beautiful painting. But I haven't done too many night scenes, but I was really
Hmm.
inspired by my friend Jesse McCloskey, who, if you haven't seen his work, it's great. And we used to always paint outside, day, night. We'd be out there, and I just miss him. And he's been making some
Yeah.
great, really great night paintings. So I wanted to do one, and I've painted this scene before outside of the
Hmm.
courthouse where I work, and it looked really beautiful this one night. And so I was there with my little sketch pad, doing like a kind of Milton Avery style note or it's like you write down the shades. Like over in this corner, we got a sort of viridian,
Like building
pinkish
the
gray.
painting.
Yeah, so you just draw like a paint by number map so that you can go. And so then I came home and I made this painting. And when I went and showed it to my friends at work, they're like, that's that looks like Paris. And I realized
Yeah.
that you know, that I what I remember is that in art education, the first and most important component to it is learning how to see,
Yes.
really. And that just sort of proves that that goes into every painting because, you know, that isn't exactly what's there, but that is exactly how I see what's there. Like I get lost in the color changes, in minute little differences in how much detail to put out and how much to leave in, like certain things just being suggested. I'm not there to like, you know, because I know some people who will measure every window in a landscape and, you know, and count things, and I would never do that. I just always, here I'm generalizing and there I'm specifying and directing your eye around to what I like and to what I think is important. And that's how it makes it something that only I could have made. And that's what I mean by the telling about the hand that that made the painting.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's so special for us to have this painting here in Manchester. I could probably almost see Veterans Park, you know, from the gallery. And I'm always so excited to see a newer landscape, you know, of New Hampshire, fresh from the artist's eye. It totally does have like that Paris. You know, I'll drive by on the way home and I'll sort of look at it, and it has that beautiful sort of Paris feeling. Or
Can if you
European
want to
feeling
see
in general,
it.
right? It can definitely, and
Well,
I
like
love that you can
we
see
we've
the underpainting a little bit in
oh
that as well. Like you could
yeah.
see that, which is just gorgeous. Yeah.
I did a painting of my old neighborhood in Jersey City, and I was just driving through there recently, and my husband David was like, "Oh, this place is hellish." You know, 95 on you know, on the New Jersey Turnpike is pretty
Yeah.
scary. But I was just like, you know, every place is beautiful, and every place is, you know, if you see it that way. So
For
even then, I was like, I was like thinking about, you know, oh, I should paint all these power lines and their hypnotic symmetry.
That's such a
So,
cool idea. Definitely. Yeah, and it just shows your perspective in each piece, which I
mhm.
think is like the best part out of all of the work is really, really inviting to me. What does the studio look like for you? Is it your kitchen table? Do you have a dedicated space? Yeah,
Yeah,
tell
I
us.
have a space. I can give you a little tour. It's in my attic, and it's very messy. I There's my painting table,
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah.
and
Oh,
that's
great
the
natural
room.
light. Wow.
And so it's just like
Wow.
I'm here even if I'm not here,
Yes. Yeah.
because there's a lot of work everywhere, and yeah, my just yeah. Was I going sideways again?
Just a little bit, but you caught it. It's good. Well, that's great. So,
Yeah,
are you able, like, what does the studio practice look like for you? Are you in the studio every day, or sort of like as time allows, or is it very like deadline based, or like what's your studio practice
I
look
think
like?
up until a couple of years ago, I mean, I was in here every day for at least a couple hours. I've slowed down a little because I'm getting older and more tired and still working full time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I've had some health issues, but that's not even that would feel like it was a loss. And
Yeah.
I don't have that sense that I'm losing anything
Yeah.
because I feel like the longer I'm working, the more I'm getting exactly what I want. If I have 10 minutes, I know exactly what I want to do. It's kind of like Picasso did not waste any time. So I can get
Yeah.
in here if I've got an hour on an evening. before I feel like I kind of need to rest, then you know, I'm going to do exactly what needs to be done. And I forget the time during that time, but I've always worked very quickly. So I think the only difference between now and when I was like, you know, I was just making like so much, where I was making like 60 paintings a year,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I don't really need to be doing that.
Yeah.
I need to I also want to, you know, have a full life. And so I've,
Yeah.
you know, slowed down a little bit. And if I can make, you know, one, or if I mean, I'm like thinking, oh, I'm slowing down so much. Yeah, 4 or 5 paintings in a month oh, that's it. But that's still a lot.
Yes,
And it's
definitely.
just working smart. I mean, yeah, I don't waste any time, because I don't come in here and worry about what I'm doing or suffer over what I'm doing, or oh, this is like
Yeah.
really. I just do it, and it's great. Like it's just I'm just totally unplugged, and yeah,
In the
just it's like a
more. Yeah.
yeah.
I love
So
that.
I only need a few hours, a few times a week, and I'm good.
There's such a
Sometimes,
comfort there,
yeah.
and like your paintings to me are very comfortable. Whether I love that it's sort of that they definitely ask the viewer to bring their experiences.
Mm.
You know, when it's a landscape, or I'm thinking of like the spotlight painting, which is like a figure and a spotlight, but it's like the back of the figure. So I want to know like the whole story. I want to know why there's a spotlight. I want to know who the figure is. There's also the one that looks out over, it looks like sort of a mill town, and there's a fan in it. Like this window looks out over
Mhm.
this town. It's very inviting. And I don't know, I just kind of feel like with each piece, it has a story. And
Mhm.
I want to know the story to all of them, but they also feel like very secure at the same time. It's not like a huge question mark, but I
Mhm.
just want to like learn about each piece. Like, so great to hear about this piece
Mhm.
behind me.
I definitely like suggesting narratives,
Yeah,
uh, rather than like making a painting so it's like a whodunit, where all the, you know, there's so many plot details in
yeah.
there. I've never really done that. I always like to generalize and have a basic psychology going on. So having the figure in a red robe back to the viewer walking past this Klieg light, it's like, is it a set? Are they, you know, are they about to disrobe? Like, there's clearly something a little bit sensual about it, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact that the figure's back is turned, she's not available to the viewer. So you're kind of maybe, you know, you're more of a voyeur into this
Mm-hmm.
scene.
Definitely.
And so that's the idea, that's the feeling of it to me. And uh and i i based that off of I was watching a lot of exploitation cinema
Mm.
and just doing little stills from them,
Yeah.
and they just had such great color though, and
The
just
blue and the red together.
yeah,
That
the
narrative.
Italian horror has such beautiful color in it, and it's just like, it's really great to, you can base a story that has nothing to do with, you know, the plot of these movies, but it's really always also how they look at people that's so interesting,
Yes.
down to a very base level. And so I had a whole series of those, and that kind of comes from that. I was just like kind of revisiting that. And then what was the other one that you had
The one
mentioned?
that, and I'm blanking on the name right now, even though like I could
Oh,
look at the
this
label, I can't.
window looks out on
Yeah,
this old town.
window looks out into this old town. Yeah.
That's a figure painting without the figure.
Ah, I love
So it's
that.
like, yeah, because this room, it's like it's clearly very lived in. It's
Yeah.
clearly like,
Yeah, there's
oh,
like
you know,
I could almost see like an ashtray maybe with like cigarettes in it, and then yeah, with the fan.
it's a boudoir. It's clearly a boudoir. And I love fans and mirrors,
Mm.
and just the antique shapes. I mean, the shapes that curly cues on the edges of vintage furniture and things like that.
Yeah.
So I put fans in a lot of things. I just love like an old fashioned fan with those big blades.
Yeah.
They're just so easy to shorthand.
Yeah,
And
you know exactly what they are. They're kind of
mhm.
a weird object in a way, but like we all know what they are. So it's just like accepted.
Yes, I love it. And the rings, they're just fun to draw. And so I put them in there a lot, and just you can just imagine like some kind of Tennessee Williams scenario where there's a woman lounging on her bed looking out at the town in front of the fan, exactly like you
Oh
say,
my
like, oh,
goodness. Right?
look at the world out there. It's mine. It's
I just
mine.
I just watched Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, like the movie, so I'm like right
Exactly.
there with
Oh,
you.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. And see, I used to do like paintings of Elizabeth Taylor from Butterfield 8, like a
Yeah.
collage of scenes from that. And she's stumbling out in that wonderful slip with that Butterfield blue, which is practically like the blue of my paintings. That's the exact
Right.
shade is that Butterfield blue. And I, she was actually in there. And now it's just not as literal.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's all in there, but I don't need to collage Elizabeth Taylor's actual body into the
Oh,
pictures. They're more open
yeah.
than that. It's like
Yeah,
I
it's
did
more
that.
ended,
Hmm.
and instantly like I bring to it, so I'm like, okay, I know that Heather is from Somersworth, so I'm thinking like, okay, this is like a view looking out over onto the mill town of Somersworth and like
Hmm.
that older sort of feeling to it, which is
Yes.
just really fun.
Well, and that allows each person to be that
Yeah,
figure. So,
definitely.
so
Oh,
it,
I love that.
yeah, so it's it's each individual viewer who can
I get to be
be.
Elizabeth Taylor.
You
I
get to be
mean,
Elizabeth
come
Taylor,
on,
looking out at that old town and having your thoughts.
right? I love that so much. Another piece that I really that resonates with me is the counter piece, which is like a sort of a fruit still life on a counter. It feels like very vibrant. And my favorite part about it, and this is so silly, but you can tell that there's like a pink KitchenAid in the corner. And it's
Mhm.
just this like, it's just a little
Yep.
bit like you see the silver bowl, you see the reflection of the pink. But I just love the color of that moment and then the texture. And there's a lot of the underpainting coming through on that
Mhm.
one too.
Mhm.
So what inspired you to make that piece?
Well, I really love Morandi, and when I started doing still life again, it had been a pretty long time. A couple of years ago, I think during the
Yeah.
pandemic, I started doing some still life, and they very much were all in a grisaille. So
Yeah.
not exactly Morandi's colors, although maybe a little. There may be a little bit of the flesh and lemon, but really a gray. They were,
Mm.
and then they just this one just like I just returned to that after a while of not making any of those,
Mm.
and then it just like popped up with the same color as I've been doing in my last more figurative work. The color just bled from one to the
That's
next,
cool.
and so
Yeah.
it really it's like I plugged in um, the Mirandis into an electric light source. So
Yeah.
that was really fun. I just loved that coming into it, making it a different thing. And so I could easily see going back to it and doing some more, and they'd be really different. So it started with my love of Morandi and how
Mm.
these objects can really feel like little characters, and you can just move them around, and it makes a totally different little story. And then, but in that one, what I particularly love about it too is how I didn't need to finish that mixer. I love to see
Yeah.
how
Like you just
little
know what it
detail
is.
you can get away with, because taking my little brush and doing that is something that I know I can do, is I know I'm good at, but that's not art for me. Art for me is delivering that emotion, and I don't need to do that, modeling, blending, and obsessive like picking if if a feeling is present. And I just love to see how little description I can get away with, and have you kind of get what is going on. And so, yeah, that was really like a moment of yes for me when I step back from that and I'm like, oh yeah, not a hair more.
Oh, and it's so simple. It's like two things of pink and then the silver bowl. And then you posted a great photo of some tiramisu earlier. And in the background, I was like, it is a pink KitchenAid. Like it was a little bit of a whodunit for me because I was like, I think this is my idea. And then later I was like, yep, that totally is it. It totally tracks with me that you would have a pink one too. So it like kind of works really well. And I know during the reception, a couple of people said that that was their favorite piece in the show, which was
wonderful.
Yeah,
Oh,
and like
great.
that contemporary still life or that contemporary landscape is so exciting to me that it's such a time honored, tradition to keep going into 2025. So speaking of the future, what else is coming up next for you? What are you working on in the studio, or if you have any shows of any kind, or what's going on?
I moved my one of my favorite portrait sofas into my office at work.
Cool.
And so I'm inviting people to come in and sit on it so that I can get some different people into the figurative work without having to make frog march anybody up to Summersworth. And then and for example, my coworker Beth posed for this quick guy with Mishka, and that's in the office with the that's because I had just have no desire to have a sterile environment and the colors. But now that I have that antique velvet couch in there, you can just forget the whole rest of the room, and it really so you're invited to come by and sit on my portrait couch. I'll be working on that. Also, because the baby is brand new, we have to find a space for him. He's dying to be made a fuss of. And it's starting to get warm out, so I can go back outside, which is great. And really, that's it. I mean, that's really all I'm thinking of working on in the next. But you never know. You always have these plans, and then you really can wander off on some tangent and get really obsessed with, like, I don't know, a certain film and the visuals that makes you think of, and then go down that rabbit hole. Happens to me every time. So, but I always come back to things. So I write them down.
Do you?
So that I can.
So you don't forget. Yeah, like even if it's just a little scratch, like this.
Yeah, don't forget that you're interested in this. And that's the thing. Yeah, don't forget to be interested in this. So, and then we're working on some videos with the band. Probably our next gig is May 31st in Dover with this really awesome band called Spirit Ghost. Who you know?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, with Spirit Ghost. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's at Auspicious Brew in Dover. That's going to be fun. And I don't know what else.
What's the name of your band? Here Come the Robots?
Replaced by Robots.
Replaced by Robots. Yes. I almost had it. Sorry.
I'm probably going to start working on a new monograph. This one was the last one. And
beautiful.
It was kind of like my pandemic book, it's just as gray on the inside as of course, grisaille is very beautiful. It's, very, very like subtle changes to hue and saturation. And that was great. But then, I was in that narrow range of color for a while. And now it doesn't represent the work at the moment. So I really want to do a new book. So I'm going to be working on that hopefully get it out by the fall.
That's great. Oh my goodness. I love that. Do movies really, or does film influence your work a lot? It seems like you're sort of pulling from that iconography.
Oh, a lot. All my favorites, they have a way of coming back. Visuals like from a film like Paris, Texas. That kind of stuff never leaves me.
Yeah.
Or even that more recently, Poor Things.
Yeah.
With
definitely. I saw that at the Coolidge Corner Theater. I just
Mhm.
happened to be like in Cambridge or wherever it is, so I got to see it in the theater, and it
Mhm.
was really
Yeah,
cool to be able to do
yeah,
that. Great
amazing,
film.
amazing. I can't point to anything specific that deliberately tips its hat to that, but I know it's gonna work its
Yeah.
way in. That was unbelievable. Like and the the way she dressed. I want to dress like at all times.
I gotta watch that again. It's so good. Definitely. Oh, that's excellent. Okay, so being an artist in 2025 is kind of tough sometimes. You know, sometimes you get burned out or like you try to do something and it doesn't work out how you want it to. What keeps your cup filled up and what helps you stay tuned in and wanting to come back to your art? Or do you even feel like you want to leave it at all? Like kind of what keeps you going as an artist?
I feel like I've always been just it's always been there for me.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I've had a very intense 30-year run of just like I'm saying, relaxing now on the
Yeah.
pace a little bit, but it's just something that just fills me. So I don't really have to think about it. I just come up here and if if I'm not in the studio for like a week or so because I'm traveling or because I've been sick or too busy, then I start to get really antsy, and I'll go see I'll like when I was just in DC, and went to the Hirshhorn, went to the National Gallery, but I was away, so I
Yeah.
wasn't in the studio for a week, and then I'm looking at these great paintings and I'm like, oh, now this line, and that just makes you want to work. And
Definitely.
so like I couldn't wait to come back and just like draw, and like so it's just like it's not really something I have to think about too
It's
much.
just part of
If
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just part of me, and it just makes everything else go away,
Yeah.
so like all the problems of the world, everything can just disappear, and I can just like feel my way through uh what I think of the world, what I think about life with this beautiful material. It's just such a pleasure. If I stopped taking pleasure in it, I wouldn't do it, but I still do. So I still do it. So there have been times I've been cultivating like some cooking and baking skills. So there were times in the last couple of years where I'm like, when I come home from work, I'm like, I'd rather make a cake tonight. So, I've been painting for 30 years. So I think tonight I would honestly rather make a cake or make a puff pastry pot pie or something, and I would just do that instead. And it was,
Yeah.
and so or music sometimes becomes dominant for a period, but I always come
Yours.
back to I love how you could just put one line on a piece of paper, and then maybe two, and then three, and then it's your little dog that you love just wriggling to life, and you show it to somebody else and they're like, oh, I just see the love.
For sure. And there are so many lovely dog portraits that you do. I love Cosmos Place or Mishka in the
Yes.
studio. They're loving.
Hmm.
For
I
sure.
saw David Hockney's a whole group of his wiener dog, and
Yeah.
if I felt self-conscious about doing a lot of dog paintings, I was like, are you kidding me? David Hockney, hello. Like, look at all these freaking dog paintings. When you get up to 100, like Hockney, maybe you could think that you've done enough. But until then, there's nothing to
Right.
feel like self-conscious about. It's
Yeah.
all totally worthwhile.
And it's that moment, with your loving
Yeah.
pet, which is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. All those.
How can um, how can we stay in contact with you? Is it Instagram? Do you have an email newsletter, a website? Like, what's the best way to stay in contact?
Um, Instagram is probably the best way. I post everything I make on there, and I'm responsive to messages. I also have a website, starboy.org, and I update that whenever I get professional images. It's a nice overview of many, many years, which you can't look at. So if you want to see new stuff or talk to me, Instagram is good. If you want to see an overview of, 30 years of work, what that looks like, that would be on my website.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll have to dive in. That's so fun. Well, if anyone wants to come down and see the exhibition, please do. You can check it out here at Seesaw Art in Manchester, New Hampshire. You can check out seesaw.gallery/visit. And our open hours are there. You can also book an appointment with me and come down and check out the work. I would love to do that. This exhibition entitled Here and There is on view until March 30th, so we've got a little bit of time left to see it. And I just want to say thank you so much, Heather.
Oh,
This has
thank
been
you,
really
Amy.
lovely. I appreciate it. It's great to chat with you and to hang out with you and Sasha.
Thank you. Oh, I might steal the title for my next book. I'm thinking about it.
Oh,
But
I love that. I would be honored.
I might call it Here and There or Hither and Thither.
Right? Yeah, because it's kind of everything all together.
Yeah.
That's sort of the feeling
Exactly.
that I
Everything.
Yes.
Which is, yes.
Just a little
everything.
more ominous.
So exactly. So if you think that the sort of work of the pandemic was sort of paring down,
Yes.
this is like opening it up to just be everything.
Really good.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Amy, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. We'll chat soon. Bye, Sasha.
Bye.